Guys, we are in the station. This is Vintage is in the house. We are so excited about it. Oh, we are live also. What's up, Twitch? What's up, Facebook? What's up, YouTube? And we have DJ Denny D2H is also in the house. He's getting himself set up. We're gonna hear a little music too. So stay tuned. Keep checking us out. And we're gonna just get into the conversation really as quickly as possible if we can here. So by the way, we got Justin and then he's gonna pop on the pop on as well. By the way, we also have one of our very special guests, the house music fam. He has been maybe at our first show, our second show. Has been our first show. Who was the first show with? Was that Kirk Townsend and Mike Izubuku? Were you there for that? Oh, that might be so. Just me and you? Wow, are you kidding me? Why was it just me and you? That's so weird. All right, guys. So we've got DJ E in the house too. Ernest Sanders, Quigley South's finest, Loyola's finest. What's up? And we've got fantastically. Looks like my boy DJ D2H is live on the decks. He is ready. We can hear his songs. We can hear his music. Thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry. I don't know if y'all can hear it that well on that. You can hear it on air, but you may not be able to hear it on Vintage House Facebook Live. Juan, what's happening? Hold on for a second. That is your mic. Oh man, I'm trying to get this monitor to work. So listen, DJ, we got DJ D2E in the house. We're gonna transition to DJ D2E. DJ D2H, I'm sorry, is on live on WNUR 89.3. We're just gonna have a good time tonight. We're just gonna party, just gonna kick it, have as much fun as possible, and talk to everyone's gonna talk to Iron King Juan. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to what that's about too. Like, we gotta talk about that. Like, how'd that come about? I'm gonna put this over here. I gotta find a way to keep you on and not have block your view. Oh, here we go. So maybe we can talk to you. They can hear me. Can you hear me? I think you can still hear me, even though So, and then not block you. Yeah, you're good. Where did DJ E go? E, come through so you can jump on the bring this chair around there somewhere so we can get you. Denny, whenever you can, pick back up on the stream because we want to see you too. Make sure we can see you. All right, someone already says Househead 62 is like, what's up? So by the way, they said hello to you already. So that's fantastic. I got to plug this into my own, the whole thing is if I'm hosting, it's hard for me to also, tag and do all these other things. The people who do that are I don't know how they do that. I'm not as skilled as everybody else in this game here. So DJ E, let's see, where are you? There you go. You're good. All right. So let's talk a little bit to Iron Juan Talk sensation, guys. He is killing it on the discussion around the history of juke and the history of footwork, which is basically house music history. And oftentimes we have not covered that, I don't believe, one time in all of our 5 years of shows here at WNUR and our online and our home editions. We have not talked about that. So there's a family of music and genre of music that we're missing, and I'm very happy we're able to tap into today. So I'm going to say, let's talk very quickly about sort of your beginnings, how you started, etc. And I'm going to have DJ D2H. I'm going to turn this down a little bit in the studio so then we can hear sort of what you got to say. Hold on. We'll turn it back up though. All right. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
How far did you have to come to get here?
Oh, about an hour.
Oh Lord.
No, it wasn't so bad. You know, Chicago at night, summertime shy. It's nothing better. Riding down Lakeshore, it was all right.
Yeah, you know, it's a nice night. There's no storms or anything
No
like that.
storms. Yeah,
So
clean night. People were all out on the path.
that is
So it was
great.
cool.
You know what, Denny, I don't see you up at all now, and I think maybe he's doing something. So, you know, we have no music behind us right now, I think, but the air can hear us. So let's talk quickly about your beginnings. Where are you from? Where were you born? What area did you grow up in?
Okay, I'm from the south side of Chicago.
Mhm.
I'm actually from a town called Calumet Park. It's literally on the border of Chicago, like right across the street is Chicago. And so I grew up there, and in my later teen years, I grew up, that's where I was born and raised, and West Portland is where I was raised into a man, is what I like to tell people. So,
Wow, that's
yeah.
really interesting. So tell me your first introduction to music. So as a young person, were you interested in music a lot? Did your family have a lot of music on? Talk to me about that.
Okay, well, no, my family does not have a musical background at all. In fact, I was introduced to music in general in grammar school, you know, fourth grade, where they asked all the kids if they want to join the band.
Mhm.
Pick which instrument you want to play, you know, try out things like that. And I picked up the saxophone, and
Oh, wow.
that's kind of what I was playing at first. My introduction to house music came a few years later. I have an older brother, and he's about 7 years older than me. And back then, it was one of those things. My mother would say, "Hey, if you go somewhere, take your little brother with you."
Right.
And you know, so it was the house music explosion that was happening in the early '80s, and so the early house parties they would have in the basements, and upstairs in the kitchen, you have the parental figures, you know, the parents, the uncles, whoever.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, I would have to go to these parties, and I would sit in the kitchen with random people's parents, while my brother was in the basement, you know, jacking his body. And so that was my introduction to house music. Just I had never heard that sound before, especially with Marshall Jefferson's house music anthem, and those keys coming in, do 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 do, and that bass it came through the floor, and it was like, what is this? Like I had no idea what that was, and I would ask my brother, you don't know nothing about this, you don't know nothing about this, and eventually, you know, he was like, hey, this is house music, it's house music, and that was the beginning for it.
So that's cool. So you play actual instruments? You still play?
I do. I dabble. My youngest daughter actually took my saxophone and she plays it now.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
dabble with it every now and again, but yeah, she's the one who took it and she's running with it. So
I
and I'm
love
all
it.
right with that.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah,
I mean, I
absolutely.
really feel like, you know, you should be teaching your kids, should know about music. I get concerned about music becoming extinct in Black communities since our schools are not carrying a lot of music, you know, and if it's not in your family or your church or whatever, you're not going to play it now. So I get concerned about that a little bit. All right. So here's the next question. So you started listening to house music with your brother.
Mhm.
What's your brother's name?
My brother's name is Ty.
Ty Frazier. Ty
Yeah.
Frazier.
Well, it's Silas. His last name is
Silas.
Silas.
Oh, sorry. So we got to give, you know, the people who introduce you to the music, we try to give as much love to as possible. So feel free to name drop.
Okay,
If you
absolutely.
name the
I
drop,
got a bunch of
put it
names
out
to
there.
drop,
Put it out
especially
there.
if they listening.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to do that. I would say. So then you're in fourth, fifth grade. You're following your brother and sister, that kind of thing. At what age did you start sort of like going to parties? When were you going to your own sort of events?
Actually, like within a year. So by sixth grade, my brother was pretty much living his life in the street. He was starting to live that street life.
Okay.
And my mother didn't want to lose another son to the streets, so she was like, "Yo, I got to find something to do with this kid." And my father wasn't in the home, and everybody was telling her, "Hey, all the kids go to Markham Skate Rink."
Martha.
Yeah. So my mother says, "Okay, you know, I'll take him there." So she takes me there, and we go. I don't know. It was like a family night, and it was boring. It wasn't great at all.
Right.
And one of the guys told her, like, no, all the kids come on Saturday night. And she said, okay, I'm gonna bring them back on Saturday night. She brought me jam packed. The skating floor was empty. Different age, early preteens, early teens, and I went in there and house music just boom, boom, boom. And that was my first experience as far as partying to house music for myself.
Got it.
And the first person I met in the industry, we call it the industry now, but then we didn't have a name for it. The first person I met, DJ Malcolm Walls.
Okay.
And he was the DJ at Markham. And
Nice. Thank you. Wow.
instantly,
This is interesting info because of all the DJs, I knew one DJ, a guy named David. He's called DJ Cowboy now, but he used to go to the rink on, I guess, 87th Street.
And Malcolm was at the rink.
Right.
Yeah, he was at the rink also.
And it was like, who else? Because those guys were playing the sweet music as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And then the people were skating to it, but I don't give them any love. I don't think we've given them any love. So I get concerned about it. So thank you so much for dropping that name.
I actually call Malcolm, I call him your favorite DJ's DJ because Malcolm doesn't get a lot of love because he didn't necessarily put out his own records. But all the juke DJs, all the ghetto house DJs, they know Malcolm because he was a staple in the community. So like all the Sluggos and Dion's and all, they know Malcolm, but a lot of the just general public don't necessarily know who he is.
Got it.
And so that was my first introduction. I remember I met him. Every week I would come and I'd bring a cassette tape. And I said, hey, can you record the mix tonight? And he would pop it right in, didn't charge me $1. You know, he would record those mixes for me. And by the end of the night, I go up to the DJ booth. He'd hand the tape over to me. And that was my mix for the week.
Nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really awesome.
That's
yeah. So that's how I got into going to parties. And then once I got to 7th and 8th grade, we started having neighborhood parties around the house in the basement. And now it's my turn to be in the basement and dancing and everything like that.
Exactly. To the house music scene as a young person. Yes. I remember back in the day, Markham was one of those places where in grammar school, everyone said, well, a Saturday night or whatever we were going to, or Friday night we were going to Markham, and some bus just sort of randomly picked us up from the park. And your parents just let you get on this
random bus. They don't know when you're coming back. Yeah, absolutely.
Now we would never do that. We would need to have a team of FBI interrogate whoever this person was. But we got on a random bus and took ourselves to Markham, and we partied. We had such a great time at these places. You know, that's a really cool thing. You know, so that's really fantastic. Okay, so where'd you go to high school?
I went to Richards High School in Oak Lawn.
So how do you get to how's the Oak Lawn connect? I mean, how are you going to school, high school in Oak Lawn?
Well, because Cal Park is technically a suburb, and even though we share the same zip code 60643, you know, it was just one of the things. I don't know how they did the township, or however, you know, I remember we didn't need an area code to call. You know, Chicago, it was all the same. And then one day when I was in high school, it's like, okay, this is your area code. This is their area code.
Got it.
So, but yeah, that was the school of our district. So that's how I ended up there. They would bus us in.
That is really interesting. So yeah, I thought, you know, it's like, so 60643 is Beverly, it's Washington Heights where I grew up.
It was Calumet Park. It was because once you go across Halsted, that's West Pullman. That's 60628.
Right.
So I grew up 60643 all day, every day. And then one day it was like, nah, we ain't 60643 no more. By then I was grown. I'm like, no, it's always 60643 for me. You know?
What are you talking about? That's never started doing stop.
What's 708? It was like, I don't understand.
We're so colloquial that way. So listen, you are now in high school. What is happening at Richards High School around music? What's the music scene?
So let me backtrack a little bit. So in not grammar school. So by the time I hit 7th grade, I'm in junior high school. I meet up with 3 buddies: Horatio, Mario, Honeyman. We form our own dance group.
What are their last names? Give me
Horatio Scott, Mario Simmons, and Avant Williams. We call him Honeyman.
Okay.
We start our own dance crew. We have several names, none of them really stick.
Okay.
So we decide we're gonna call ourselves House Arrest. And that's because the house music had control of us. It wasn't like a criminal thing or anything. It was like, okay, we're gonna be house arrest. So that was our name, and so we started a little group, and it was maybe 5, 6 of us in our neighborhood.
Okay.
And we used to go to Markham every week and try to, take over Markham skating rink. But every once in a while, House of Maddox would show up, U5U would show up. They were the big guys back then.
Okay.
And it was kind of like, wow, these guys are great. We just little dudes. And so we end up, the group end up disbanding once we get to high school, because we end up going to 3 separate high schools. So the group disbanded. We go to 3 different high schools. So now I'm alone at Richards. And during this time, we had joined several other groups. And 2 of the groups I like to really shout out, 3 of the groups is Task Force.
Okay.
That was with Jason Duncan and Marlon Chambers. And then Magic Feet with Marvin Alexis, we call them softball, and then House Squad. And those are kind of the groups I was kind of hanging around at that time and I danced with. But when I got to high school, I wanted to start my own group, but it was already a group there called Verse 3. And so they weren't super popular, but they were popular in the school. So, but they were seniors, and I was a freshman. So I do, they all graduated. A bunch of incoming freshmen come in. They knew who I was from the neighborhood. We formed our own group, and we got another version of House Arrest started. By this time, this thing is taking off. And a lot of people are knowing, oh, okay, this guy Juan, he's dances, he got a group, da-da-da. So we decided we was going to make it official. So the summer before my senior year, we started the group in August of 1994. We started House Arrest 2.
Okay.
And that's the official group. That's the one that took off. So that's where I am in 94. And now we're rubbing elbows because at this time, the house music scene is changing.
Okay.
Ghetto house is really starting to take over. And they're really starting to speak to us as teenagers and young adults. So now you have DJs like DJ Sluggo, DJ Dion, DJ Milton, DJ Chip, DJ Clint, all these guys. Well, first of all, Sluggo, Dion, and all them, they were, in my opinion, they're the pioneers of the whole thing. And then out west, you had DJ Funk, Wax Master, all those guys. And then DJ Chip, DJ Clint, those guys, our people, they started to come out around the same time as we came out as a group. So we did a lot of things together. We started throwing parties. We rented out this old banquet hall in Harvey called Cavallini's.
Where was that?
That was on 147th, right off it was on Sibley, but it was right off of Halston. And this was 96, 97. And we would throw parties out there every Friday night, and them things took off. And that was like the epicenter of ghetto house, and that was like at the beginning of the whole juke movement. And that's where it really exploded. And that's where a lot of people who really credit juke music for being born is from Cavaliers. So yeah, man, the 90s was a great time to be into house music and to see that evolution and just to be involved in that. And for me to have a front row seat, was just amazing. I loved it.
Well, that sounds fantastic. So this is in Richards High School, your senior year.
Okay.
You are then, right after that, you're booking, so the dance crew is now booking its own parties.
Right. In fact, we were throwing our own parties because back then we didn't have YouTube or social media, anything. Right. So the way a dance group got its name out was to throw parties. So your name is on a flyer, you pass them out everywhere, or you get a DJ to put your name on the track. And we weren't well known enough for DJs to shout us out, on the mixes or anything. So we started throwing parties. And one of our best collaborations was with Ronnie Sloan, the founder of House of Maddox. Me and Ronnie, he came on, me, Ronnie, Malcolm, we started throwing these parties at Cavallini's. And now all you see, everybody knew House of Maddox. So now on the flyers, you see House of Maddox, House Arrest 2.
Right.
And then RP Boo came out with a track that said House of Maddox, don't forget about House Arrest 2. And now our name is on house mixes. And now everybody across the city, they're starting to hear these tracks at parties. And they're like, man, who's House Arrest? Even before they seen us, they heard about us because of the house music. They were like, man, who is house arrest? I know House Maddox. Who is house arrest too?
Right.
And then all we had to do was show up and show out.
Right.
And
Right.
that's how we really started to.
That's the way to do it. I mean, so, but that was the interesting thing. Ernie, you may have to chime in here for me. So back in the day, the doctors and all those people, were they throwing their own parties or were they just showing up at other people's flow? Ernie, the doctors, all the dance crews back in the day, do you recall them having their own parties or they were just showing up at the parties and participating in the flow?
No, I think they were having their own parties.
So this is a normal thing. So basically, there's a history of dance crews just coming together and having their own parties, and booking their own DJs, booking their own venues, things like that. And
Absolutely.
Then the DJs love that you all are, using them, and so they will put you on there, give you the love on their track.
Absolutely, it went hand in hand.
Got it.
So if you were a dance crew, you had to get with the DJ because you wanted that representation. The DJs wanted to rock with the dance crews because the dance crews were traveling everywhere and dancing off of their mixes. It's been times we would go perform and people would want to buy our performance tapes.
Got it.
They say, "Oh my God, where can I get this music? I'll buy that tape from you right now." Yeah, they used to do that all the time. So it was a hand in hand thing, and it got to the point where a lot of DJs, a lot of groups will say, "Okay, this is our DJ," and so you will have groups that will say, like, a lot of people know that House of Maddox, they had DJ Dion, they had Sluggo. That was kind of like a staple. Like, this is who we're with. Okay. Different crews had different things. K-9 had their own DJ. U5U had their own DJ. Shout out Darnell Payne. He's one of my mentors.
Nice.
All these different crews, Full Effect, they had their own DJ. So all of these different crews had their own DJ, but everybody kind of worked with everybody. Even if you had battle, beef, whatever, nobody was fighting. Even if it was just strictly on the dance floor or diss tracks or whatever, everybody still kind of worked with everyone. So it was a good time, definitely.
It sounds like it was really organic.
It was. It really was. It was a very organic process. In fact, so much so that now anybody with a camera phone or a camera could come out tomorrow and say, "Hey, we a dance crew." Right. And if they had put out the right video, half the world would know. But back then, that you couldn't do that. You had to be decent, because if you weren't, people were like, "Oh, they whack," and you didn't get a second chance.
Right.
You did not get a second chance.
Well, let's. I'm going to back up just a little bit more, because at some point, you're listening to house music, etc. When are you creating? When are you dancing? Like, I danced to the music, but I didn't want to put together a dance crew. So how are you dancing so well, or you think so well, that you are going to put together a crew to dance?
Okay, so back in the day when I was going to Markham, there was this guy at Markham. His name was Jason Duncan. I call him Mr. Everything. All the guys wanted to be him. All the women liked him.
Oh, look.
And at this point, they did. They really did. And at this point, I'm in 7th grade. I got my friends. And this guy named Marlon Chambers, and there was a couple other guys. They had this group. They had this group called Task Force.
Okay.
And they had routines. They had matching shirts. And they were doing routines off of the house music.
Right.
And so when they started to do their routines, they would form these big circles.
Right.
And everybody would stand around and watch them. And we're sitting on the sideline like, "Damn, we want to do that." And that was the start of, we should start our own crew. And so we started our own crew. We joined Task Force. We joined several other crews. But that was the start of it. And then House of Maddox would show up every other weekend. U5U would show up every other weekend. They would have them matching outfits. They would do, choreography to the house music. And it was mind blowing. It was like, we got to do our own thing. We got to do this. And where I'm from, on the south side in the hundreds, it really wasn't any dance crews out there. They were all pretty much on the low end, on the city, the west side. And when we came along, it was several smaller crews. But once my crew, House Arrest 2, came along, we took all those crews over. It was like, hey, look, what
you
do you
do think so yourself?
Yeah. This is facts.
All right.
We
need your crew to chime in. Let us know if they were the hype that he's saying. So we got to corroborate these stories. That's what we do here at Vintage House.
It was ridiculous. And you had a little crew, and you would say, "Hey, we so and so." It was like, "Hey, come dance for House Arrest 2." It was like, okay, and they did it. And by 97, 98, we had the complete hundreds under control.
Wow, that's so awesome. Okay, so you all had dance, you had outfits, you all give me the practice schedule. Who picked your outfits? You know, who put together these routines? How did that happen? What's going on with that?
Well, the members made up the routines.
Okay.
Usually it was the same 4 or 5 individuals who would come up with choreography, but a lot of people did have input. As far as the outfits go, I mean, at this point, we're starting to get big where we have a manager. You know, I was the president. We had a vice president,
Oh, wow.
treasurer. I mean, yeah, it was.
How many people were in this crew?
Very organized.
How many people were at certain times? How many did it start with? How many did it end with?
We started, I think, on day one, maybe 15, 20.
Oh, my God.
Again, it's not over. I mean, the group has grown.
Oh, wow.
Today, we have over 14 chapters.
Are you kidding me?
No.
That is so
I went
sweet.
away to college in 2003, and I went to Florida A&M University.
Fam in the house, fam in the house.
We started a chapter there in 2003. That's chapter 4. So we have several chapters. One at U of I, one at North Carolina Central, Clark Atlanta. We're at Bethune-Cookman, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, and it's still going. It's still going. Western Illinois, yeah. So several schools. So it's still going. We have thousands of members currently.
That is House Hat 62. House Hat 62 are also is giving us some love. I want to make sure to give him some love because we had Jose Escavera on the line. He was a choreographer and a dance crew on the north, had a dance crew on the north side called Kalitos.
Okay.
I mean, he's talking about the Kalitos at Janelle's, but it could have been a different name of his crew. But he went on to tour across the country as well with doing dance. But they were up on the north side. So they were doing things at the different high schools on the north side and then transferred to the larger clubs, etc. He wrote a book about it, which is phenomenal. And I should have bought it today. I forget the name.
I remember you telling me about this guy.
And it was a play. It was made a play very recently. So get big ups to the Latino and north side communities. Jose Escavera, his crew. He wrote a phenomenal play about his house music and dancing. So we want to give him some love. Thank you so much, House Head 2, for giving us that love. He says the Kalitos were the baddest. And he says, tell Juan I follow him. He knows. So I will tell Juan what's up. Yeah. So
that's what's up, man. Much love.
Exactly.
Much love.
So thank you so much for chiming in on that. All right, so I'm going to go back again. So you all got chapters all over. So a lot of black schools. A lot of black schools. Because you're a fam guy, so I like that. I like that. So let's quickly talk about number one. You form these groups, etc. And then you decide to go to college. So I mean, give me the transition on
that. So the group was the group was really big at that point. And it's crazy how you work so hard for everyone to know you, and then once everyone knows you, you want to be left alone.
Right.
And that's kind of where I was at that particular time. Like my phone wouldn't stop ringing.
Right, yeah.
You know, I just didn't have a life outside of the group. Like it literally junior college, and we only had 3 chapters at that point. We had Chicago. Chapter 2 was at U of I, University of Illinois in Champaign, Alabama.
Nice.
And then chapter 3 was at North Carolina Central in Durham, North Carolina.
Our digital media manager also says we had a house arrest team at U of I Champaign when he attended, and he's young. So that's still there.
And so at that point, we had been winning, competitions in Chicago. We've been winning Bud Billiken like 3 years in a row.
Oh, wow.
We've been doing so many great things. And again, outside of house arrest, I really didn't have a life at all. Like no love life. I had 2 children, but it was just like I really don't have anything.
Whoa. He said he has no love life, but you had 2 children.
At that time.
Okay. Help me out, fam. 2 kids, no love life. What's going on? We gotta explain that a little bit.
That's the street.
Just what happens. Right? I got you.
Young man. Okay. I was a young man. That's all I can say.
I got it.
But so around this time, it's like, you know what? I gotta figure something out. And so I was presented the opportunity to go to Florida State University.
Okay.
And ultimately, that's where I enrolled first. I went to Florida State first. And FAMU was literally across the train tracks. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tallahassee.
Yeah.
But I went to Florida State first, and my goal was just to be a regular guy there. I figured if I was in Florida, no one would know me, and I could just be a regular guy, a regular college student, and live a regular life. And I wasn't in Tallahassee not even a week. And people was like, hey, that's the guy from house arrest. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, the guy from house arrest is down here. He go to school down here.
Right.
Yeah, there was a big Chicago population there.
Chicago population of
Yeah.
all the
Down here, we don't have anything. And it was like, I left Chicago to get away from it, and it was there waiting for me. You know, yeah, I was a victim of my own success. And so we started chapter 4, and then the thing really took off, and boom, there it is. So now I'm a college student, and I'm still dancing.
Right.
You know, so and now we're forming all these chapters, and then we just make it one gigantic dance crew,
Nice.
a national dance team with several different chapters.
He can dance too.
I do a little bit, man. I do a little bit, not a lot of it. You know,
Your TikTok.
Yeah, we got it. So again, everyone, you're listening to 89.3 WNUR, WNUR.org, and in HD1 in Evanston, Chicago. You can listen to us on Twitch, The Vintage House Show, our YouTube page, and Facebook Live. And you can hear DJ Iron Juan King. You can listen to him tell you about house music history on his TikTok at Iron Juan King. Iron King Juan. Okay, so thank you. So definitely listen in, check that out. We follow him on our very young TikTok page. We're new to the TikTok world. So we'll get into that in a little bit. So we're about halfway done with the show. Interesting. Time flies, all right? Yeah. So you're all over the place. I'm gonna get to the point where you believe that I see we got the feedback on the thing. Oh, thank you. Then you know what? You may have to turn off here. He can't hear us. So he may have to turn off his speaker because I can hear myself back. Or turn it down. Just turn it low. No. His this right here has to be down because I can hear me on his iPad.
Oh, I can hear it also.
I can hear myself on his thing. So thank you, Denny. Denny's kicking it, by the way. Let's see, got a little dance floor up here. Denny, turn it up.
He is getting busy back here. I hear him.
Put him up alive. We put him up in here too. Denny's partying, doing his thing. So thank you so much, DJ D2H on the decks over here. Uh-oh. Ernie's partying. Ernie's dancing. Thank you. There you go. We need some. Yeah, that's what we got to do, right? This is a house music show. We're supposed to be partying at all times.
They don't give us enough time.
Exactly. We always want people to come down to the station so we can hang, we can party. So we definitely want that flow at all times in the station. Just roll. Okay. Yeah, big love to DJ Jesse De La Pena. Thank you so much. We love Jesse. He's been on the show a couple times, I believe. So thank you so much for giving him love. All right, guys. So, tell me quickly when you got into TikTok. TikTok is new. How'd you get into that?
Reluctantly.
Okay.
So when the pandemic hit, everybody and their mama got on TikTok. And I was reluctant. I'm like, no. My daughters got on TikTok. Shout out. Kennedy, Kelsey, Kylie. Yeah, all of them. They got on TikTok and a bunch of people. And then all the older folks started getting on. I'm like, it's for the kids.
Right.
And if you remember that one TikTok where it was 4 moves. You do 2 elbows, a shimmy, and a clap. Right. And everybody was messing that up. Like, just terrible. Right. And I'm like, they're making fools out of themselves.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not getting on this app, you know? I said, I'm not getting on this app. So I started getting on the app just to watch other people because then video up here and there, and I started doing little challenges and stuff. But what happened was anniversary on Facebook of a footwork video I posted that went viral, and I said, I'm putting this on TikTok, and that thing took off. It got like 200,000 views.
Wow!
And I was like, what? People like this. So I put up another post right after that and said, hey, if you used to party at any of these places, then we probably party together. And I put up like Markham, the Rink, the Taste,
nice.
All these places. And it got thousands of views. And people like, yeah, I used to party here. I used to party at the Taste. I used to be at the Rink. I used to be at the Route. Adult Expo, Cavallini's, all this stuff. So
my favorite line was your choice of chicken.
Oh yeah, right. Right. So I was doing that. Like that was the
okay. Explain your choice of chicken. I got to know what that's about.
Well, basically, it was saying, tell me you're from Chicago without telling me you're from Chicago.
Right there, you go.
And I started describing, Hell's Chicken. Like the way I do it. 6-piece fried hard. Salt and pepper, hot sauce, mild sauce. And that one took off.
You're from Chicago, yes.
So people like me talking about Chicago stuff. More importantly, they like house music. I love house music. So I started putting up little videos of me dancing to house music. Like, hey, this is my favorite house tracks. And it was like 3 or 4. And I do a couple just little silly dances to them. And people just really responded to it. So then I was like, let me talk about it a little bit. And that was the start. And then it just took off. Yeah.
That is so awesome.
Great content creator.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
We love that. And that's what we need. I mean, in order for people to know about house music, we need to talk about it.
Absolutely.
To know about the genres of our dances and our music. You're doing that fantastic thing. So we're so proud of you for making that happen. And sort of what you thought sort of the older generations were sort of appreciating or not appreciating about the music. And then sort of, talk to me about sort of that time frame when Ghetto House was doing its thing and how you feel about it.
Okay. So originally when house music just kind of exploded on the scene, it was just one genre of house. It was just house music.
Right.
But then in the late 80s, early 90s, this new sound came about, and it had a couple names. They was calling it Booty House. They was calling it Ghetto Tech. But ultimately, it was called Ghetto House Music. And the beats were a little bit faster, and these had more chants in it. And it was stuff that they would say in the neighborhoods or quote unquote the hoods. And it kind of came out like the Robert Taylor homes on 51st and State and all up and down State. That was kind of like ground zero for ghetto house music with Sluggo and Dion and Milton. And before, house music used to be like this. Like what he's playing is, hey, I'm happy.
Right.
I'm carefree.
Okay, right, exactly.
It was all that.
It was
but
that.
Then when the hood got it, it was like, hey, we like that, but that's not the kind of lifestyle we live.
Right.
The type of lifestyle we're living is, I beat that beat with a bat, dancing in this house,
right,
where the bat's at, and that's when everybody's like, yo, I like this, and it was and people would lose their minds, and they would do these chants, and it was, and all that. And the original,
what a chant?
Well, that's what. So anytime you hear ghetto house music, you will hear that. They'll do that, or you hear that. Hey. Or I'll tell you another one that's a favorite is that bang 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 ski 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 bang 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 ski ski. They go crazy over. Even to this day, they still go crazy over that.
True, yeah.
And so when that started to hit the streets, man, it was like a whole new thing. And that's one of what I like to call the traditional house heads or the original house heads. They didn't like the ghetto house music because house music really was just getting its feet. And then here comes the ghetto version, and they was like,
DJ D2H was like, he didn't like the ghetto house music.
See, yeah, they did.
I was a music box. I was in
he was at the music box. He's trying to do the traditional house, right?
You guys gonna mess this up,
right?
We're just taking off. We don't like it. It's ghetto, it's hood, it's this and that, but it had legs. And, eventually, you can't deny the talent. And eventually they accepted it. It was like, okay, all right. It's not that bad.
Right.
It's not that bad.
Right,
when they saw it had legs. And then you had a lot of traditional house DJs who would now put ghetto house DJs on the ticket as far as parties, and so you'll have a different mixture.
Mm-hmm.
Then when Juke came along, which is basically ghetto house music, just a faster version, people call it footwork music.
Got it. It was like, what year was that? Give me those years.
Okay, Juke came along like the late 90s. I'm sorry,
late 90s.
Right.
Okay,
So
got it.
ghetto house came like late 80s, early 90s, and then Juke came around 97, 98. A lot of people credit R.P. Boo for being, the godfather of juke music.
Got it.
But that's kind of where it came in, and it was traditionally just straight juke music, like as far as for the footworkers. And that's what it was. And it was like, that music, oh my God. It was so fast. Where traditional house music is what, like 120, 130 beats per minute. Ghetto house music was like 140, 145. Juke comes along, and it's like 155, 160, just and they would take off. And now it's that disconnect because you think that juke music is way too fast, and then you got the ghetto house in the middle. Like, hey, we rock with both. Like what's going on? And so ultimately, what we're trying to do is kind of bridge that gap by doing stuff like this, talking about it on the radio, doing TikToks, and kind of letting everybody know, hey, it's all under the same umbrella. It's all house music, But you still have a lot of purists who like, nah, we don't like that, and they're like, hey, we don't like this, and so we got a little work to do, but it's all house music.
Again, it's about history. Now it's history. So again, there's so many things that many people didn't like or liked back in the day, and now we just want to record that so that people respect that. Again, Chicago played a really big part in creating new genres of music, creating new dance performance types and skills, and sort of unique things. So, and these are all sort of created a lot by people of color and people of African descent, more specifically. So, that's really important for us to highlight in all the things that we do. Okay, so we got a little bit about sort of what was happening with the music. Juke is happening. Things are sort of changing a little bit with the music scene. And talk to me about your career then. So did you, after school, did you keep dancing? Were you making money dancing? Were you traveling the world dancing? Talk to me about how that was going.
So when I graduated, came home in 2008. Came back to Chicago. We still had the group here. So by this time, social media is a thing now. And we are large. And we are doing shows at the Regal Theater. We traveling all up and down the Eastern Seaboard, down south, all over the Midwest performing. We had an opportunity. We went overseas and did a 2-week tour in Italy. We were in Syracuse. We were in Rome. I think I was maybe 30, 31, where it started to get to me as far as living out of a suitcase and constantly being on the road. And I got these young daughters, and I know them, but I don't know them. If that makes sense, because I'm there, but I'm not really there. And that's kind of that was weighing on me, and so that was kind of like the beginning of the end as far as me being fully active as far as in the group.
Right.
And so we had successors put in play, and it's one of those things, and it was like, okay, it's time for me to retire. And so I retired.
So you retired?
Yeah, I retired from the group.
How old were you? How old were you? You retired?
Yeah, I retired from the group. Right. I've been in the group like over 20
You started the group, yeah. Now you're like, I am
So,
retired, right? Exactly.
I'm 36, 37. I'm 43 now, so yeah, it's been about 2014. It was a solid 20 years, easy. Because our founding date is August 4th, 1994. So like 2014, I was definitely all the way out by then. So yeah, about 20 years.
Interesting.
Now, when you asked me about the Iron King, and where that name came from, that's part of this. So I went from being the man that everybody wanted to know and my phone ringing and the limelight to now I just had a brand new baby, had just got married, and
congratulations.
Thank you. And so now I'm literally almost like a stay-at-home dad because it was cheaper for me to stay home than put our kid in childcare. Yeah. The other two were in school already. Okay. So now I went from traveling and constantly on the go to now I'm sitting in the house with this fresh baby And I, I don't want to say I was depressed, but I definitely had some dark thoughts. Like, what am I doing with myself?
Right.
I'm eating what she eats.
Okay.
We eat mac and cheese and snacks all day. I'm not working. I'm not dancing because that's exercise. I'm not
Exactly.
doing
That's true.
any
Yeah.
of that.
That's so
And
true.
now I'm gaining all of this weight.
Wow.
And I'll never forget it. December of 2012, or May 2013, no, it was 12. I walked into LA Fitness because I saw a picture of me on Facebook, and I said, "That's not how I look."
That's,
It was
that's
straight
what I say
down.
every day. I look at it. I'm like, who is
No,
that?
that's not how I look.
Right. Exactly.
And I went in there. I lost a couple pounds. I ended up meeting this guy, Terrence Lyles. And then he had just started a running group called MRDS, Men Running Streets. Yeah. And so I joined them, and that's what I've been doing. I started running. I was always a swimmer. I picked up the bike, and then I started doing triathlons. And so I ultimately did the Ironman triathlon. And that's where the iron came from. So my name is King Juan, but I say Iron King Juan because I did the Ironman triathlon.
Man, now I need to talk to you about it. But
Yeah,
Ironman, give me the time. Give me the time. And where Ironman? Did you do it here or where?
I did it in Florida. So it was in Florida in 2015. And you have 17 hours to do it, and I did it in like 16 hours and 43 minutes, something like that. Yeah,
that is so cool. Our buddy Ernie here is a big time runner.
Yeah.
DJ D2H is a big time biker.
Okay.
So he's biking all over the city, etc. I run, but I'm all about a 5K, people. I don't believe in running any longer than that.
You gotta go long.
It's just not acceptable.
Half marathon.
I've been to Kona, so the Kona is where Kona, Hawaii
Right, that's
is where
the championship.
that's the championship. That's the big time. It's brutal. It's brutal. A lot of black sand, a lot of heat, a lot of just nothing to block any sun or anything like that. So I respect those people. One of my best friends, Wendy Willis, I give Wendy some love. She wants to do, these little triathlons, but at some point she wants to do a whole triathlon and get herself a little tattoo.
Tell her something, go for it. I have my Iron Man tat right here. Oh, yeah. And you see, I represent for the city of Chicago.
She will love that. Yeah, that's exactly what she wants. Exactly.
Right. Now, I'm going to say this. So, since I switched over to triathlons, and I really wasn't on the house scene, what started to happen was with the TikTok is when I realized that everybody liked house music and they like to see the old footwork and stuff like that.
Right.
I started telling the history of it. Then I started to do more research, and I even started to learn more doing the TikToks. So it's so much more that I learned just doing research to put on TikTok. So they're getting information like that, and I don't put work into it. And so it is, and I say that to say that it's been an awesome experience for me to get back into house music this way. Before I was a performer and I was avid on the scene and a pioneer in that aspect. And now to come back and be more so like a historian and come back and say, hey, this is what's going on. These are the groups that's out doing it now. Shout out to like Geek Squad, the Empire, Dance Force. Those are the current crews that's out doing their thing, A-List. So it's still a lot of crews out doing their thing right now. And DJs still doing their thing. RP Rashad, Spin, E-Dub. It's a lot of guys still doing it. I know people like, you didn't shout me out. I can't name everybody, but
And look, we can put their names on the bottom of the screen. We'll type them in later. We want to give everyone love.
As much as I can. When they pop in my head, I definitely do that. Absolutely.
All right. So you start doing TikTok and becoming a historian about footwork and some things. Have you found out about other people, people who influenced the music as well, other Chicagoans, things that were happening across the world? I'll preface, go back. You were dancing in Italy. You're dancing across. Tell me about what was going on there. How were the audiences? How were you received?
Oh, they loved us. They loved us. And I want to shout out Creation Global and Havoc and the Footwork Kings because they took what we did and took it to a whole nother stratosphere. That's King Charles, Prince J. Ron, Mad Dog, Boo Dilla. I don't want to forget anybody. But so we started off traveling and trying to get a name. These guys took it to the next level. Like they're in Brazil, they have creation chapters in Japan. They are everywhere, and they're spreading the Chicago footwork culture. So you asked about what I learned. So what I learned just doing research, a couple things I knew, but kind of put the dots together. So I learned that once the dance crews, in order to be a footworker, you had to join a dance crew. That much I knew already. But then it was a split. The dance crew split, and then it was strictly footwork crews and dance crews. And that's current. That's the current status right now. So you have a lot of footwork crews out that's strictly footwork.
Okay.
And so you have like the Era and the Tunnel and old school like Wolfpack. So you have these guys out strictly footworkers, and they are having like weekly battle zones.
Nice.
Battle zones at different dance crew studios.
I love a battle.
Yeah.
That's how house music started. They were getting better by battling each other.
And so I didn't know that this was a weekly thing. I knew that this happened. I didn't know it was a weekly thing. Like every week they are hosting battles somewhere, and it's underground, and I just really hope they keep it that way. To keep it pure, and that's man. If people want to know, they'll find it. Keep it pure, because once it get commercial, then it's over with.
What do you think about it? You think you can dance in J-Lo's show, all those dances? There's a lot of sort of unique Chicago style, I say Black African types of music that the Japanese and people in all these different places are doing.
Yeah.
When I see these dance shows, I see a lot of Black dances taken to another level by different cultures.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
So I don't have an issue with it if they are learning it from the people who created it and giving the creators of the what's the word I'm looking for? The acknowledgement. So
right,
you have a lot of dancers who came from the Chicago dance scene, footworkers that performed with Missy. Shout out Kurt Cobain, Full Effect, Blair, Dane. All those people, they danced behind Missy. They've been in videos, go on tour with her. You have people dance behind Madonna, like King Charles, they footworking behind Madonna. So you like this Chicago footwork thing is large, and but the good thing is they come here and they get the talent, and that's what I do appreciate. They are getting real footworkers to do this stuff. Now they do pass the buck sometimes, and you can tell the difference when you see a commercial and they got footwork in it and it looks terrible. You know they didn't get him from Chicago. Where'd you get this guy?
Chicago.
Oh man, they do it so wrong sometimes. But I will say that you have, and that's why I love Missy. She came here and got real footworkers. Madonna came and got real footworkers. So a lot of these artists will come to Chicago and get real footworkers, and I love that.
That's cool. That is what's up. So, I mean, I'm so excited that because what I did from Chicago, and that's how we're winning Grammys and that kind of thing. But I didn't know the dance scene was that way.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand. In my opinion, it goes hand in hand because a lot of times those tracks, the early tracks, before social media, were getting pushed by the dance crews. So when the DJs were making new tracks, they play them at a party, but the dance crews will put them on their performance CDs, and when they go out and perform, they're playing that DJ's music. And that's how a lot of those early records were getting pushed.
So one of our first events we had was Columbia College, the School of Dance. And I didn't realize this, but these house music dancers and dancers like yourselves are professors now. Yep. Now teaching this style of music globally and getting paid for it. They're getting paid to speak all over the world and perform and create workshops all over the world. How are you using that tool, or are you getting to that, and do you want to get into that? Give me sort of what you're doing along those lines.
I am actually. So right now, since TikTok, actually, that's actually what's been happening. So I've been asked to, that's how I ended up on this show. Right. People are asking me now to, come and speak, and especially since the world is starting to open back up, come and speak here or do this interview and things of that nature. And so, I definitely want to go about, spread the word of house. You know, and let people know, hey, this is not just a musical genre; it's a lifestyle. House is all about love. It's about life. It's about just enjoyment and being free and sunshine. It's everything.
Exactly.
House music is everything.
It is. It is absolutely everything. That's a great way to end. We're not ending yet, but that's a great way to end. House music is everything. So, someone is calling. Ernie, can you pick that up on the other side? Just say WNUR. All right, so Rennie Harris, he's a guy who has again become a global, sort of professor of house music. Yeah, Columbia is doing quite a bit. I believe their dance department is really pretty tight. They do a lot of interesting things, and people listen to the dean of the school is top of the line, and they've been making a lot of waves as it pertains to bringing dance music in Chicago, sort of dance music, to another level, so it can be studied. That's our goal, is to make this a form like jazz and blues and all these other things that are studied globally. We should be studying house and juke. So you're right on the right path. We're really so excited about that. So what's next for you, Juan? We're almost at the end of the show. What is the next step? How are you taking to the next level, besides sort of what I brought up around sort of just speaking about it? Are you, give me sort of what's next that you see.
Okay, so we're gonna take it from TikTok to actually making a little bit longer videos,
Okay.
more speaking engagements, and then I'm back on the race circuit also, so I'm kind of balancing between triathlon,
right,
and speaking and doing and also the resurgence of the dance crews in Chicago, as far as everything opening back up.
Got it.
The Billiken Parade back up and running.
That's gonna be so cool. That's gonna be so cool. I think they probably locked themselves out of the place. I said, because if you open up one door and go to the other, they probably did it. I figured. All right, we'll come and get you in just a second. Good idea. It's like you need a thing to get out. But anyway, all right, guys. So listen, we're gonna go out with some music from
Juan, yeah. So that's all my social media. Iron King Juan on Instagram, on TikTok. I have a Twitter, but I never use it.
Right.
And you can find me on Facebook, Juan Frazier.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming. You're awesome. And again, just thank you so much for spreading the love of house music.
I appreciate it.
Again, you are listening and watching the Vintage House Show. With Vintage House Show, we're on WNUR Street Beat every Wednesday from 10 o'clock until 11 o'clock. Next week, DJ Lori Branch will be live in studio with her guests, and then you can see her all around the city this summer. She's going to be everywhere in July and August. So stay tuned. Check out her site. Next Monday, we'll be back. Again, this is WNUR 89.3 FM, NHD1, Evanston, Chicago. Keep it locked. We're still on. We're just going to go we're going to do a little bit of DJ D2H. Peace.
Yeah. I see you over there. No, I watch it. Man, you been cutting up over here, man. I'm trying to talk. And I can hear the show. I'm sitting here like, yeah.
I'm trying. I've got one deck.
What happened to the other one?
I think the RCA is out on it. Yeah, so it's it really had me hemmed up because I'm physical on one deck, and on the other deck, I'm actually using the mouse. Okay. I'm like,